You know, when you're deep in the trenches of building a brand, it is so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day. The logo tweaks, the next big ad campaign, what's on the social media calendar. But we're going to look at some work from Alexander Chernev, a marketing professor at Northwestern University, that suggests all of those decisions really boil down to one single fundamental choice. And that choice is, are you going to own your brand's identity, or are you going to borrow its meaning from the world around you? And let me tell you, this isn't just a creative question. This is the central strategic decision that really defines how you build value. Right. And that really gets to the heart of the tension, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got what you could call the brand's unique fingerprint. These are the identifiers, the things that are legally and visually yours, and yours alone. But on the other hand, you have its personality. And that's this whole complex web of associations that actually gives the brand meaning inside a customer's head. It's like the difference between a name on a birth certificate and a person's reputation. One is a fact you create from scratch, the other is a perception you have to cultivate. And they are built in totally different ways. Exactly. So let's start with the assets you can, proverbially lock down in a vault. These are the elements that are 100%, without a doubt, yours. They're built from the ground up, by the company, for the company, and they are completely under your control. Think of these as the foundational, rock-solid assets on your brand's balance sheet. Yeah, so brand identifiers, they're not just about looking good or sounding cool. Their number one job, from a business perspective, is to be unmistakable. They're meant to create this powerful, immediate mental shortcut for the consumer. When you see a specific shape or you hear a particular jingle, your brain should make an instant, unambiguous connection to one company, and one company only. That's the real strategic goal here, to own a piece of your customer's mind exclusively and legally. And these identifiers can be literally anything that hits the senses. I mean, you've got the obvious ones, right? Like the McDonald's Golden Arches or Nike's Just Do It, but it gets so much more subtle. Think about the specific registered robin's egg blue of a Tiffany box. That color, that's an owned asset. Or the iconic shape of the Coca-Cola bottle. You could recognize that thing by touch in the dark. That's a powerful identifier. Or even a sound, that little Intel bong, that's a registered sound mark. It is literally an audible asset that they own, custom built from absolutely nothing. Right. So if identifiers are the assets you painstakingly build and own in-house, then associations are what you strategically borrow, or maybe a better word is rent from the outside world. This is where a brand taps into people, places, ideas, even movements that already have this deep well of meaning, and then it just attaches itself to them. You're not building meaning from zero. You're essentially leasing cultural relevance that's already out there. And Nespresso is the absolute classic case study for this. They wanted their brand to just scream sophisticated, elegant, effortless luxury. Now, they could have spent $1 billion over 10 years on ads telling people they were sophisticated. Or they could just hire George Clooney, who in the public's mind already is the human embodiment of that entire idea. It's a brilliant shortcut. They're leveraging the halo effect, basically downloading decades of his carefully crafted personal brand equity directly onto their coffee pods. But here it is. Here is the massive billion-dollar catch. Nespresso owns its logo. It's a tangible asset on their books. They control it completely. They do not own George Clooney. His image, his future actions, his personal reputation, all of that belongs to him. And that is the fundamental, terrifying risk of borrowing. You get instant meaning, but you completely, totally sacrifice control. What happens when your celebrity spokesperson has a massive public scandal? All of a sudden, that borrowed equity flips and becomes a catastrophic liability, and you have absolutely no power to stop it. That whole risk factor is the perfect way to get into this next part. To really get the strategic implications, you have to break down the 4 core differences between owning and borrowing. So let's put them head to head. Let's really see how they stack up against each other. Okay, first up, uniqueness. Identifiers, by their very design and frankly their legal definition, are one of a kind. Only Tesla can use the name Tesla for a car. Only Nike can use the swoosh. It's a defensible moat that you build around your brand. But associations, they are almost always shared. Elegance isn't exclusive to Nespresso. Chanel, Rolex, the Four Seasons, hundreds of brands are all trying to borrow meaning from that exact same concept. And that can lead to what's called brand dilution, where the association gets so overused it just loses its power for everybody. And that shared nature flows directly from where they come from, their origin. The Amazon Smile logo was created out of thin air, specifically for Amazon's purpose. It didn't exist before they hired a designer to make it. But the concept of adventure, well, that's existed in human culture for thousands of years before the North Face decided to associate its jackets with it. They're just tapping into a powerful, pre-existing cultural idea. They didn't invent it, they just hitched their wagon to it. Which brings us right back to that critical point about control. With your identifiers, you are firmly 100% in the driver's seat. If your logo starts to feel dated, you can redesign it. If your company name doesn't fit the mission anymore, you can change it. Just look at Facebook's pivot to Meta, or what happened with Twitter rebranding to X. You have total authority. But with associations, you are just a passenger. You can't control a celebrity's private life, or a sudden shift in public opinion about a social cause, or the political instability of a country you've been touting as your brand's origin. You are just along for the ride, for better or sometimes for much, much worse. And finally, we get to the flip side of all that risk, inherent meaning. And this is where associations have a massive, undeniable advantage. They come preloaded with significance. If you associate a car brand with safety, that instantly communicates a really powerful emotional benefit. Identifiers, on the other hand, almost always start as empty vessels. The Apple logo, when it was first created, it was just a picture of a fruit. It took decades of relentless product innovation, obsessive design, and absolutely brilliant marketing to fill that empty vessel with all the powerful meaning it holds today. So when you strip it all away, it really boils down to this one fundamental strategic trade-off. It's something every single CMO and brand manager has to wrestle with. It's a classic battle: control versus value. Do you want to build your own fortress, brick by painstaking brick that you will own forever? Or do you want to move into a magnificent, prefabricated castle that you don't fully control and, frankly, could be asked to leave at any moment? So what's the smarter play here? I mean, building meaning from scratch around an identifier, it's a slow, incredibly expensive, capital-intensive process. But once you've built it, it's a durable, defensible asset that can actually appreciate over time. It's a fortress. Borrowing meaning, on the other hand, is fast. It gives you incredible speed to market. For a startup trying to break through or an established brand trying to pivot, it can be a total game changer. But that borrowed equity is fragile. It's built on a foundation you don't own, and it can vanish or even turn toxic overnight. There really is no single right answer. It's entirely dependent on your brand's life stage, your resources, and your board's appetite for risk. And that's really the final thought to leave you with. The most sophisticated brand strategists, they don't see this as an either-or choice at all. They approach it like an investment portfolio. They have their safe, long-term, blue-chip assets, their owned identifiers, and then they make these calculated, higher-risk, higher-reward plays with borrowed associations. The strongest brands are a masterful blend of the two. So the ultimate question for any leader isn't should we own or borrow? It's what is the right mix for our specific strategy? Are you actively managing and balancing your portfolio of owned assets and borrowed equity to build the exact reputation you want in the market? Now that is the billion-dollar question.